What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Ask A CISSP podcast. So this is a complimentary podcast that comes out on Thursdays to the other side of the firewall, where we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. Today is a little bit different, so we're doing the Thursday podcast. I'm talking to Sam Brown is with us. He is a professional speaker and consultant for staff and program development. So if you could just let us know who you are, a little bit about your background, and then any topics you would like to cover during this episode, and then we can kind of get into how all this is applicable to securing employment in general, right? And kind of figure out who you want to be as a person, where you want to work at, but then how that applies to cyber as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So one, thank you for the opportunity to just be on here and engage with you. Super excited. So again, everyone, my name is Sam Brown. I am a professional speaker and a consultant for staff and program development. So what that means is I travel as a speaker. I do workshops with students, middle school, high school, college students, mainly around just like job readiness, leadership development, mindset development, and just becoming the person that you desire to be, like identifying who that person is and actually giving them the tools, the skills, and the confidence to become that person. And I also am a consultant where I train staff around the same thing, becoming the person that you desire to be, how to develop as a leader in your role, how to continue to build a strong team that's able to serve the people that you serve. And then also supporting them and creating and developing programs that focus on engagement, retention, and recruitment of participants, of community members, whoever your target market is. So super excited to be here. I have over 10 years experience in teaching job readiness courses. I've developed curriculum around job and career readiness, and how to, get into an industry, how to shift out of that industry if you're looking to jump into another one. So just being able to teach that to people of all ages from 14 to 24 has been an amazing opportunity for myself. And recently I'm in the process of finishing up and releasing my first book, Grow Through What You Go Through. And that's just, again, about how do you grow through your life experiences to become the person that you desire to be, even if that means you want to jump into something new like cybersecurity, right? How do you become that person that you desire to be that can make that shift and excel in that new career field? So I'm super excited to be here.
Oh, absolutely. And that's amazing. Like, I'm glad to get you on before, you blow up with the book going on. That's awesome. So I have a lot of questions just from your introduction, right? So you said you've been doing it for about 10 years now. What kind of led you down that path? Like, what made you say, okay, I want to work within this field? And then like, was that before or after you started to speak publicly?
Yeah, so ironically, majority of my professional career, because I'm 28 years old, so fresh out of high school, I just wanted to jump into this field because I had the pleasure of going through programs like that where, they opened up my eyes to how to not just obtain a job, retain a job, how to find, a career of your choice through different, explorations and different just opportunities, whether it was workshops, whether it was 8-10 week sessions. And really the real passion came because, growing up for me, I was written off as a young person early on, like you wouldn't amount to anything. So I really dedicated my life initially when it came to that work of, creating programs, creating curriculum around job readiness to impact the same young people that other adults are writing off. And I wanted to be that person that helped me during my time of uncertainty or questioning whether or not I'm actually going to become something in life. So that's how I initially got into it. And I loved it. And I've been doing it ever since. I started to actually create my own curriculum a couple of years ago, just based on just wanting to adapt and improve what I see that's already out there and what I know that works as far as just job and life, skill development.
Okay. And with that being said, so that's awesome that you have that drive and that initiative, but also that you want to give back to the community, right? So that's a lot about what this platform is about as well. Is trying to grow out our field, cybersecurity. It's only 9% of us are people of color, right? So we're just trying to uh, put people in the proper seats for the 700,000 or so job vacancies that are here just in the states alone. So no, that's great. So when it comes to that motivation and trying to motivate others, how has that impacted your just kind of like the way that you design your lessons and the way that you actually teach? Like, have you learned any lessons throughout the 10 years that kind of you can say like, here's my top one or two or three uh, like lessons that I built up throughout my journey.
Yeah, I think for me, throughout my experience with it, because again, I started so young at 18, and I barely, knew that much myself, right? But as I, obtained my own different forms of employment and made shifts and just went through, the great experiences and not so great experiences, I really allow my life experiences to be my biggest teachers. And then I share those experiences through my own curriculum. So one of the biggest lessons I learned just when it comes to just teaching, right? Um, to teach and not to talk, right? Because I think a lot of times, teachers, and we see it often, whether it's teachers, coaches, whatever, facilitators, they're just regurgitating information that they see on a slide or in a textbook. And that doesn't provide, for me, it didn't provide a real world experience where I can actually apply this right now to my life. But teaching on the other aspect for me is like, I want everyone to walk away every session with something applicable that they can then go and utilize right then and there. I don't want to give you something that you'll be able to utilize in 10 years. I want to give you something that you could utilize now. So that's how I really shape my topics around what is most relevant for the population that I'm serving. So if it's 14 and 15-year-olds, what is the most relevant thing that they need right now? It's to build those foundational skills of resumes and cover letters. Yes, you might not use a cover letter, right now, but you can practice it. It's impressive if you send in a cover letter at 14, 15 years old, applying for a job. It's like repetitions, like free throws. So that was one of the biggest lessons, even like with my older population that has had employment and they're looking to jump into a new field. It's like, how do we, I'm teaching them about transferable skills and how to word transferable skills on a resume or on a cover letter, or using key terms and key words that are buzzwords, because I've also had the pleasure of hiring people as well. So I learned the game of like, what do people that are employers are looking for? They're looking for buzzwords. Does it match the job description? Does the skill set, even though it might not be in the same field, you're saying certain language around certain skill sets that I know that you can utilize, in this job. So that was the teaching in me, right? I wanted to find how to teach you something that you can actually utilize versus just giving you all this information. And then probably the other main thing that I learned throughout this process is teaching through activity, right? I think a lot of times people already know, what you're going to teach them because they've experienced it in some way, shape, or form. But the activity allows the debrief and the discussion to be a lot more organic and not forced, because they have just done an activity that's in relation to whatever we're teaching. And now I'm asking you questions like, what was the most difficult part about the activity? And their responses are literally what we're going to talk about, right? So those are the two biggest lessons that I've learned when it comes to just teaching and running programs around job readiness, job skills, life skills, different things like that.
No, that's definitely speaking to me with the job search, right? So I don't know if I've actually talked about it on the podcast, but when my initial transition from the military, I transitioned like the retired from the military, started an internship, but I did it during the great layoff wave, right? Like, which is still kind of happening, right? You still see the rumblings from these trillion-dollar companies still letting people go and what have you. But the way that they pump you up on the way out is they're like, man, you have all these skills, all these things that can transfer, like you're a natural leader because we got 2 decades of leadership piped into you. But then you hit the market with the masses, right? So everybody's applying for these jobs. Luckily, I was able to stick the landing, right? But it wasn't first application, first job, right? It's like number 51 was the one that stuck. So for people who are still out there trying to set themselves apart, right? Trying to make sure that they're going to make it to the top of the stack. What kind of tips do you have for those type of people who are maybe they're going through a pivot, or maybe they were just laid off and they're trying to just jump back right back into the market? Like, what can help them stand apart from all the other people who are currently out there?
Yeah, so like the one thing for sure that can help people stand apart, and I actually learned this from my mentor when I moved from Pennsylvania to Maryland, and I'm like trying to figure out, what direction, what job that I want to go into. The one thing that he told me was the key terms, like whatever they say and utilize in their job descriptions or in the job postings, take those words. So like if they're looking, when it comes to like qualifications, right? The section in the job posting where it says qualifications, those key terms like someone that is able to lead a team to a common goal. You want to utilize that in your cover letter, and how like you led a team to a common goal, or you want to utilize that when you submit your resume, and under your resume you put like the bullet points of like what you've done in that role. Because the more that they can just see certain language, the more likely you're going to just jump to like, this is at least the interview pile. Because the biggest thing really is like, you want to get in the door, because then you can allow your personality to speak to the employer, and you're able to have an engaging conversation versus I'm just reading a paper and I'm going through 20, 30, 40 applicants. So I'm trying to fish through them really quick. And the last thing you want to do is not have them, pull your application, even though you might have the experience or you might have the qualifications that are transferable. But it's because you're not using certain language. So I've learned that, to just whatever they put out there, utilize their language, because they're probably reading 10 seconds of your cover letter, maybe just skimming through your resume, and then they're just looking for key things that stick out to make them keep reading. So like that's some advice I would give to someone for sure. And then the other thing is just like making sure that what you're searching for aligns with who you are, because then it makes it easier for you to go through the process. Because sometimes you're in multiple rounds of interviews and it's daunting and it takes a lot. But if you're passionate about the work that they're doing, then it makes it easier for you to articulate, your experiences, or articulate, some examples that you can give that provides more clarity around like, yes, you were doing this, but now you're trying to jump into this field, but there's a lot of similarities and this is how they are similar. And it just shows that confidence.
So I want to dig a little bit deeper into that, because it's the second time I've heard you say it, and I'm paraphrasing, right? So we talked about offline a little bit, but it was like something to the fact of you need to pursue the career field that speaks to you, as opposed to the salary. So if you can go a little bit more into that. So how, because at the end of the day, right, a lot of people are jumping into our field because it can be very lucrative. And I'm not trying to knock anybody for that. I mean, that's why I stayed in the field, right? As opposed to trying to pivot and find something different. But for the person who is kind of out there right now and it doesn't quite know what they want to do, but they see something shiny over here in the distance, like, okay, cyber's paying pretty good. But what kind of advice would you give them? Like, how do they kind of follow their heart so to speak? Like, okay, like what speaks to me? How do I figure out like do I sit there and I storyboard, or like do I jot things down? Like how do you kind of figure out like what do I want to be?
Right. Yeah. So I'll start with you know, I do this thing, it's called like an impact statement, right? Stating like what type of impact do you want to make, right? So if you're going into cyber, security field, like why? Ask yourself why are you going into it? And if your answer is literally, because I can make X amount of money, most of like you never know like what does that come with, right? Like, so I think it's important for you to understand when you're going into something, why do you want to work here? Because as much as like the dollar sign might sound good, it comes with a level of responsibility and a job duty that you might be like, wow, I didn't want to do this type of, cybersecurity, or I didn't want to go into this aspect of the field. So now you're at a job that's paying you well, but you're also realizing that you're not happy, or you're not feeling, valued, or you're not making an impact. So I start off with just an impact statement, like, what do I want? Like, what impact do I want to make? And then the second thing, I really do some research on just the company, because again, as you know, every company is different. Like you might be in the same field, but every company is different. Every company has different focuses. Every company, does different things. Like you might apply for a job that pays you really well, but requires you to travel multiple times a week or multiple times a month. And you are a family person where traveling now takes a burden on your family, and now you're impacting that area of your life. So it's like really understanding what you're walking into, and what does that company represent? Because, there's a lot of cyber security companies out there, that just like there's a lot of tech companies out there, just like there's a lot of, gaming companies out there, or sports companies, or, coffee shop companies, but everything is different. I always use the example, you know, some people are better fit for Dunkin' Donuts. Some people are better fit for Starbucks because of culture, right? Culture is super important. And even in the interview process, asking questions, especially when you get towards the end of the process, the culture, and seeing if it aligns with you. So like those are like some of the things that I really focus on: culture. What impact do I want to make, and can I make that there in that position? And then really researching, the company's values and who they serve, and different things like that.
No, that's perfect. Like that's a soundbite for by itself, right? That's something I can put out there. I think that will speak to people sometimes a little bit better than the technical jargon that we use. I think that this interview is more has way more universal appeal, right? Because there are a lot of people making some really big pivots right now. Like ever since 2020, the world is crazy, right? So people are kind of trying to search for their passion. Like, what do I actually want to do, and what type of opportunities are out there, right? Things I just never thought of. Like the pandemic changed the world in a lot of interesting ways, right? Like I work from home, right? Never even thought that was a thing, especially not in the military. Like we're working from home in the military. I was like, our entire job is physical.
Right.
Like, so and then just seeing the different things sprout out of it, right? Like you have food delivery services and all types of other things that kind of pop up. So it is pretty cool. So like obviously the pandemic was awful, but I'm just saying like the years after, right? The way we've adapted to our circumstances has been pretty interesting. Um, so let's go into the book a little bit more. I'm very interested. So you kind of talked a little bit about what made you decide to do it, but what is that process like to actually sit there and become an author?
So quick backstory. I've actually been trying to become an author since the pandemic, because pandemic hit, got laid off from my job. Really wanted to start pursuing my business, Faith and Effort, which again, we talked about like the services and how it evolved to what it is now. But one of the biggest things for me at that time was just like, I went up like, I've always wanted to write a book. Now it's perfect time. I'm home. I'm unemployed right now. So I actually wrote a book during the pandemic. It was the book was just focused on create, cultivate, elevate, right? It was very focused on like creating this version of yourself, cultivating that version, and then elevating to become that person. It never got published. It's still somewhere in my archive somewhere, just because I felt like it was out of anger of just losing a job. So fast forward to 2023, I told myself like I'm at a point where I really wanted to write a book that helped people. And I was in a space, a good mental space where I actually felt like I can give real value. And I wasn't in like a space of just like uncertainty, desperation, anger, different things like that. So yeah, like the book itself, the process, it was really a lot of self-reflection. Because everything that I poured into the book is something that I've gained along the way in my life, whether it's stories, whether it's inspirational people, or just like who I am and the experiences that I went through, because I want people to understand that like your growth process or growing through what you go through is more of a lifestyle choice, deciding that every experience that I have, I'm going to find growth in it, no matter how great or no matter how painful that experience is. It's important to always seek growth, because that can be a tool that you can use to become the person that you desire to be. We're constantly changing our values, what we believe in, what we want to do in life constantly change. And it requires you to be equipped to handle whatever comes with that change, which a lot of times is hardship. A lot of times is struggle. So it's like your mindset is super important to develop a growth mindset where it's like, yes, this might not be looking good now, but over time it will. So that process has been interesting. It required a lot of just like locking in, not doing some of the things I would usually do, staying up late nights, not playing video games, not, indulging in just binge watching like TV, but just really like pushing myself. It was also rewarding to get to that end and feel like I have something viable that can really impact somebody.
No, that's powerful. So I don't want to get the quote wrong, but it's growing through what you're going through. Is that
Yeah. So yeah, so the title of the book is Grow Through What You Go
grow
Through.
through? Go what you go through. Okay, gotcha. And I'll make sure we put that in the description so people can be on the lookout, right, for when it does drop. And then hopefully when it does drop, you can shoot me a message or something like that, and I can put it up on the
Oh yeah.
podcast. But like, remember the book we talked about? Like it's out there. So
Yeah. Now for
no,
sure it's
that's
currently
awesome.
in production right now. So once I have it finished printing, then I'll definitely send you the link.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's awesome, especially for people trying to aspire to doing something within that vein. Like I've thought about it, but I've never gone past the thought. You know what I mean? Like you think about it, you're like, so many hours.
Listen, I went through the process. I tried to write, two other books before this one, and it was just I started, I stopped. But this one, I just told myself like, let's go, let's lock in, whatever it takes, little by little, piece by piece. So I was able to get it done. So I'm definitely. It was a process. I think the hardest part is just seeing yourself as an author, because seeing yourself, it's just like when you change jobs, right? Or jumping into a new field. It was like it took me a while to see myself as someone that somebody wants to read something about. But then I had to remember, like, you're a speaker and people pay you to come speak. So what's the difference from you speaking and
Right.
you writing? So once I got past that, same thing with you. It's like your podcast. You have people that watch your podcast faithfully, that subscribe to the podcast. So clearly, they like to hear what you have to say, what your guests have to say in general. So just taking that and understanding like, okay, like people actually do want to hear me. Like now it's just the fact that like I just had to write it and just go. Like I told myself I'm gonna write it and I'm gonna just keep writing. I'm not gonna like question it too much. I'm gonna just write
Right.
it. And the moment I question it, I gotta walk away from it, then come back and just write. So
That's awesome. And then and now it's coming to fruition, right? So that's amazing. And earlier, so before I asked that question, you did you alluded to that you've talked about faith and effort already. I don't think you talked about it enough, to be honest with you. Like, so let's go a little bit deeper into that. So uh you spoke about the initiative and the services that are being provided. What does the future look like?
yeah, so the future, with faith and effort, the future looks like creating a multi million or billion-dollar company that helps aspiring speakers get opportunities and platforms to impact. So almost like creating an agency, right? A speaking and consulting agency where people from all over, you know, are a part of this organization. And what we're doing is we're developing them as speakers. We're providing coaching, and then we're also getting them paid through gigs, through trainings, through consultants, and just really building that out, building that concept, because I'm actually a part of a organization that does similar work. So I'm a part of something called Coatesville, which is a youth speaking engagement agency. And I'm a contract speaker where I travel and I help facilitate camps, workshops, different things like that. So that organization gave me the inspiration, which I always envisioned faith and effort as. I want to help the speakers that were questioning themselves how I question myself. My life has always been like, I want to help people that has went through the similar experiences as me. And early on in my speaking career, it took me like 2-3 years to get a paid speaking gig. I was doing a lot of stuff for free. I was on Instagram, I was on social media, and nothing was clicking. And I questioned whether or not do I belong in this space? And a lot of times it's because you don't have resources, the financial, income, or the income to pay somebody to help you figure things out. So really with the organization, it's like we get the services of the speakers that can go out and now facilitate these camps and these consultations and these trainings and these speaking engagements. And in return, they get the experiences, the exposure, the skills, the confidence to become the best speakers that they want to become. So that's like the future. And then, of course, I want to start a foundation under the LLC. And that foundation is focused around community work, providing for the community, whether that's scholarship money, doing local community drives, just really supporting the community, but then also like giving them the resources to elevate. Because I think a lot of times in our community, things come and go, like food drives, book bag drives, which is all amazing. And I think it's needed. But the impact over time, unless you're doing it consistent, the impact over time for me, I want to do even more. I don't want to just do it to say, oh, I had a Thanksgiving drive. I really want to provide resources to support individuals. That's why I did the curriculum piece, right? To provide them with free trainings and classes so that they can be equipped to go get jobs in a new field with little to no experience, or be equipped to pivot and just change something and elevate beyond their circumstances, because I've been blessed to be able to do that. And it's only because someone has helped me. So I want to do the same.
No, that's both inspiring and humbling to see you building this multi-part business, right? Where you're doing the training, the engagement, the curriculum, all that good stuff. And then oh, by the way, we also want to build something that's sustainable to help grow the community and continue to support people. So that's amazing. So if somebody was interested, with it, because right, like you're still building it, you still have room to grow and what have you. But if somebody wanted to either help, support, send something, or provide you services to help you continue to grow, how would they contact youth, or how would they contact Faith and Effort?
Yeah, so they can contact me directly, Sam Brown at faithandeffort.org. And that's just my email, my direct email. So it's come straight to my phone. I'll be able to answer it. Or my website, www.faithandeffort.org. Um, that's just another way to just check out, what I have and what I'm building. Again, the goal is to build the one aspect of the business that's the
Right.
speaking and consulting, because that money is then going to be used to fund the foundation along with grants and different things like that. But yeah, so that's how you can contact me, and get in contact with me if you want to either support, book me for services, or reach out just to get connected in some way, shape, or form. And then, of course, my social media is at Faith and Effort. So everything is really straightforward with the Faith and Effort piece. But that's how someone can get in contact with me.
No, that's sweet and to the point, right? Like, so we're gonna put all the links and everything in the description. It's good. Your branding is perfect. Like, to be honest with you, like people will be able to find you. I was able to find you because you sent me the message through the app Calendly, I think is how you pronounce it. But it doesn't come with all your stuff, because I like, behind the scenes, I have not worked out an application process yet. So that's a little bit inside baseball. I'm trying to figure out, because I don't want to detract people from trying to reach out to me, and as well as I don't want to know too much before I have the interview, because if I know you too well, then I'm not going to know what questions that I personally am interested in, as well as what the audience might be interested in. Like, oh, let me dig a little bit deeper here. I've already had the answer, and I'm like, oh, I already know. So there's a balance there. But I saw the name, and I saw the business, and then I hit up LinkedIn, and boom, popped right up. So I'm like, oh, that's perfect. Like, I don't have to dig very deep to try to find you and what have you. So the brand is on point, man.
Yeah, and honestly, your application, I like it because it it doesn't require me to do a lot, but it requires me to do enough, right? So I think that what you have is good, because it just allows for the organic conversations to flow, like you said, without knowing too much, but
Right.
you know enough to at least have basis, and then from there you just kind of flow. So yeah, that's just my view on it.
No, I
Versus like
appreciate it.
other
Yeah.
applications that I've filled out. Some of them are lengthy. It's like we just did the podcast interview through the application.
Through the application.
Mhm.
No, that's perfect then. Yeah. So I definitely want to continue this conversation as aspects continue to come to fruition, right? So like, you're already in a state of growth. You're already doing some amazing things out there. But now I want to have you back on when the book drops. I want to have you back on when you start to roll some new initiatives out for the business. And then obviously when you get to the part where you really want to start growing that uh, uh, foundation, right, to service the community, stuff like that, I definitely got to get you back on for that. So I can see us having this conversation, or having more conversations in the future. So that's awesome. But before you go, I always like to hit up people to find out who they are outside of their career, right? So a lot of people come on to talk about obviously their business, their initiatives, and how they're going to give back to the community. But then also like to find out, like, a little bit more about the person, right? Do you like reading, or playing games, or traveling? So but what's always funny though is when I talk to people, like it kind of comes out in the conversation, like, I don't have time for that.
Mhm.
Because you're writing a book, you're running your own business, you're traveling for speaking engagements. So aside of all of that, right, when you actually do have some free time, how do you like to spend it?
So like, and I'm actually I like had to like push myself to get better, because just being a young Black male, it's like I feel like I need to build this great empire and then rest once like my work is finished, right?
Right.
But I like really like what I love to do outside of it is so just me like when I'm just by myself or just when I just need like me time, like I just like to, it's funny, I like to watch podcasts. I like to watch
Okay.
sports podcasts a lot. If anyone knows me, they know I stay on YouTube watching some podcasts, just like or something on YouTube. So I really enjoy just watching just different things on YouTube, whether it's entertainment, podcasts, um, something that just intrigues me. Video games is my go-to. I love 2K. 2K
Okay.
is something that I really enjoy. But the biggest thing for me, and I actually just got back from Atlanta this weekend, just hanging out with people like and good vibes, good energy, and good food. So a group of my friends were part of fantasy basketball league. We met in Atlanta for the first time and met in person. A lot of them I never met in person, and it was just fellowship amongst Black men. Like it was like super dope. It was just like we got food, like we played basketball, like we went some sightseeing. We just chopped it up. We just had fun. So I always
Right.
love to hang out with my friends and let's just go get some good food and find like something cool to do, or something just different like to do and just be around each other. And it's like I'm very big on just like uplifting the Black community, and I think that's one way. It's funny. I actually had a group of people. We made this frolicking video where we were like pretending to, or we
Right.
were like frolicking. It was like Black men frolicking. I saw it
Right.
and I recreated a version of it because I saw it on like TikTok or something, and it was so cool to just get like see it and they have people react to it. It's like, wow, like that was so cool. Like it's just amazing. Black men in their element with their armor, like taking off. Like I love to be in fellowship where we don't have to be what society like is framing us to be or be a certain way so that we could like manage and navigate life. So long-winded say I just like hanging out with my friends and doing stuff.
No, that's amazing. And I haven't seen your version of it, but I have seen the frolicking video and that's hilarious. And it is counterintuitive, right? Because yeah, for the most part, the way that Black men are painted is different, right? But he was like, have you ever tried to frolic? And he have him running around. I was like, that's hilarious. And no,
And
I
the
haven't.
feeling of it is actually enjoyable. Like when I did it, I was just like, wow, like this was actually kind of just fun just to like run
Right.
freely and just like frolic. I was like, this is actually kind of cool. I was doing it more of a joke, but it actually turned into something that added some value to my life. And it's made
Right.
me like understand, Black men in America and how like we don't get opportunity to be like quote unquote like free or like in seen in a softer light. So it was
Right.
cool.
No, that's awesome. I'm definitely gonna check out your version of it because that brings like that it brings a smile on my face. That's funny.
It's on
And
my
it's true.
Instagram.
It's very true. It's
Yeah,
on your Instagram. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Like so no, that's good. And it sounds like you're in a good mental space, right? So that's definitely something I like to talk to people about who are pursuing business and who are pursuing trying to, uh not just build their business, but also people who are trying to uplift people or trying to do both. Because you put yourself on the back burner a lot, right? And it's like that across the board with most people who are entrepreneurs. It's just like, yeah, I got all these things I want to do, right? I don't want to miss opportunity. I want to strike while the iron's hot. But then what about you? Like, what are you doing outside of it? So that's good to hear that you have some balance, right? Like obviously you're not going to have all of it because you do have some things that you want to, knock out and what have you. But it's better than most people I talk to, like, yeah, all I do is like X. All I'm doing is studying, or all I'm doing is, working 50, 60-hour weeks. So it's good to have that balance. So no, that's
Good
definitely
food and music, man. I'm
uplifting. Yeah.
there. Those are my good food and music. Football season about to start back up. So friends come through, we watch some football, eat some good food, just good energy. I just love good energy. It's like it refills my cup to like go after life.
There you go. No, that's something to live by, right? Like if anything else, aside from like all the very important and just the wealth of knowledge you brought about the hiring process, what you should be doing on your resumes, how you should be pursuing something that you're passionate about as opposed to just chasing the bag. because we do talk about it, at least in my field, right? We talk about the money a lot of the aspect, but once we fill out those 700,000 positions, like everybody's not going to be driving around in Lamborghinis. So like if you want to be passionate about this before you get too deep, and there's some sense of normalcy in the future, right? I say that, and then people still pursue doctor, lawyer, and things of that nature because they still pay. They're always going to pay well.
Oh
So,
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
That's
So it was,
that's
yeah, we'll see what the future holds. But no, so thank you very much for joining us on the podcast, man. It was definitely a really good conversation, and you kind of took me a little bit out of my comfort zone, right? Because you quickly let me know, like, hey, my thing is the process of professional speaking and getting people into starting their careers, motivation, mentorship, things of that nature is not specifically for cybersecurity. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it out. Like I have a lot of really cool people who come on, reoccurring guests, but it is good to have that refreshing take as well as something that's universally appealing, right? So like everyone, regardless of your education, your certifications, or your experience, we all have to go through the job process. Like every single person is gonna have to go through it, and it's uncomfortable. So it's good to know there's certain universal things that people can do to help them get to where they need to be. So definitely thank you for coming on the podcast. For everybody who's trying to find you, I know you already gave us a your plugs and your shout outs, but one more time for the end of the podcast, where can they find you? How can they get in touch with you? And what website should they hit up?
Oh yeah, for sure. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be here to just, speak on something that I don't often speak about, but just being able to just provide some form of insight and just the pursuit of like your career, your happiness, life in general. But if you are looking to find me, to come and do a workshop, a training, speaking, looking to support the organization, my website is www.faithandeffort.org. And you also can email me directly at sambrown@faithandeffort.org. And all of my socials, you can find me at Faith and Effort, and you'll be able to find me on all platforms.
Perfect. And we'll make sure we put all that stuff in the description as well, so people can quickly click a link and be able to jump straight to your pages. For me, please continue to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I think this is like what is this? This is like episode, I want to say it's number 7 for the Ask A CISSP, but in general, I think we're at like 429, I want to say, this week. So we're rolling through them, right? So Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday is discussion. Thursdays, we have really cool interviews like this one right here on the Ask A CISSP podcast. And then on Fridays, we talk about everything else. So movies, books, games, all that good stuff. So definitely tune in for that to see how we feel about the Barbie movie, playing Zelda, things of that nature. So we like to unwind on Fridays episodes, but definitely keep your likes, your shares going. Hit a bell. There's a bell associated on whatever platform you're on, and just go out and frolic. That's the key to the end of this episode. Try frolicking out. You know what I mean? So with that being said, stay safe, stay secure.